what we're going to do is we're going to get through the Brandon Aiyuk updates from today, and then I will turn it over to you in the chat, and you could drive the conversation from there. You get red and gold. You get to ask whatever questions you want, 49ers related, and I will answer them. But first, we're just going to get through the number one story in the NFL still today surrounding the San Francisco 49ers. And then we will open it up to a broader conversation about the San Francisco 49ers, because I already know you've got Brandon Aiyuk fatigue. We've got Brandon Aiyuk fatigue, and we have plenty of other things that we can talk about. So we will do that as well. But of course, we will get through the latest information that has happened today, and then it'll be your turn to ask the questions. So let's get into it all right now. You guys already know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat. Smash that like button. Let's get after it. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I already see the chat is heating up just the way that I like it. So, like I said in the intro, it's very simple what we are going to do. I don't imagine we are going to spend actually all that much time on the Brandon Aiyuk situation, because although we do have some updates, we don't have a ton. And it's actually more quiet than it's been loud. And so I think that's a good thing. And like I said, I will open it up to you guys for questions. We're just going to get through the BA stuff, and then I'm going to kick it to you guys. So let's start, right? So this actually all started late last night for us kind of catching up to speed on some of the updates, and we'll get through it. Like I said, bear with me. We'll get through it quickly, and then we'll move on. So it all started last night when Jerry Rice put out this post where he says, I guess we will find out tomorrow, goats. Will he stay or will he leave? And he tags Brandon Aiyuk. Well, it is 6:36 Pacific Standard Time here on the West Coast, Wednesday, August 14th. We still do not know what is going down with Brandon Aiyuk, the situation, and what the outcome is going to be. So I've seen a lot of people giving Jerry Rice flack. So it's not just me. It's not just me. I see 49er fans chirping Jerry for putting this on you last night. Oh man, we're so at our breaking point when it comes to all of this stuff. We just want to figure out what it is. But at least we did have a little bit of optimism today. I'd posted today would be a great day to pay Brandon Aiyuk. We're still pretty close. And I would say this was the most substantial thing that happened today, which I'm sure you guys already understand. Brandon Aiyuk was spotted at 49ers training camp today wearing red gear. I know, shocking, right? But again, we hadn't seen him out at practice, I think, since the DAP seen around the world. So that's why it was substantial. Also considering the tone of the situation and everything that's going on, the fact that he's out there. Matt Barrows did hilarious. He did a hilarious thread on Twitter where it was like he was basically tracking every movement that Brandon Aiyuk was making in real time. It had a timestamp and what he did, and then a timestamp, and then what he did, and it was hilarious, while also I believe he was being 100% accurate. I do think the way he was reporting it was to be somewhat facetious and like sarcastic, but he was still tracking every movement of Brandon Aiyuk throughout practice, and that's where we're at. That's what we've come to. We're tracking every breath, anytime BA, eat something. Like that's where we're at. So with him being at practice today, wearing 49ers gear, which again, the reason why that has been such a big deal is because when he's been at practice, he's been wearing all black. So this is the first time that we got BA in Niner red. Oh, yes. Good stuff. Good stuff. So at least it's a good sign that Brandon Aiyuk, uh, again, remains in the building and he's out there. He's out there. But so far, no resolution. So just quickly before we move on from this subject, basically the way that I'm looking at it is the fact that it's quiet, the fact that we've exhausted all options means that it feels like they're trying to hammer this home. I see Cedric asking for the YouTube link. Just go to YouTube, type in the SF Niners, and you can find the stream there. But essentially, the way that I'm perceiving this as is the fact that we have heard no news. We've exhausted literally every single option. There's no more breaking news other than signing or trading him. And I still don't believe, I think things have shifted away from trading him. I think things have shifted away from trading him. So now it doesn't mean it can't happen. I want to make that abundantly clear. But it does feel like we are kind of in that final, I think someone explained it in one of the comments, like we're in the 11th hour. So we're just waiting. We're waiting for what's going to happen. So that's where we're at. Other than that, I think that's all the Brandon Aiyuk stuff that we have. That was really it. I mean, him being back in the building today, that's a good sign. Him wearing Niner gear, that's a good sign. No crazy reports or updates, that's a good sign. It's been one of the more quiet days that we've had. So to me, I'm perceiving that as they're talking, they're communicating, which means we are hopefully one step closer to resolution, and off we go. So if it doesn't happen tonight and we're not doing a late night gang stream, then hopefully it happens tomorrow. So that's about it for the Brandon Aiyuk stuff. I don't think anyone really has any other questions on Brandon Aiyuk. I think we're pretty clear with where that situation stands. So we'll start our transition now, moving off to the rest of the team that that is out there. So we could talk about that. Let's see. I thought this was pretty funny today. This was some nice comic relief. The mood has been he said that was a fast show. I told you we didn't have a ton of stuff to talk about with Aiyuk, but we got to cover it. It is what it is. Now we're on to the next. Kittle had some fun today with the beat reporters. I thought that was some nice comic relief amidst kind of the tension of just waiting. I know I would say the common theme from most 49er fans that I speak to are kind of over this situation. So I think this was a nice break. I think this kind of chopped up, some of the BA stuff. I'm going to play it. Let me know if you guys can hear it. It's always hit or miss with audio, but I thought it was pretty damn hilarious.
So you guys are out there at every practice. You guys watch us all the time, but there's a special teams period where I catch some footballs and I like to observe you guys. And you guys really need to up your sneaker game. It's absolutely atrocious. I got some Vomeros. Those are fire. And Grant wears Vans every single day. New Balances. They look like Vans. Yeah, those are Vans. It's okay. But you wear those every day, so I need you to switch those up. But I observe all your guys' shoes, and I am disappointed in you guys as a community. So if we could up those, please. It's year 8, guys. Let's figure this out together. Okay, now it's all you guys. I think before we begin, so you guys are.
Oh, George. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Nigel says, "What's wrong with Vans? I wear Vans. I love Vans. I feel like if you're also from the Bay too, you rock Vans quite a bit. Y'all remember? Um, got my Vans on, but they look like sneakers. So like Vans are part of Bay Area culture, lightweight. Um, I got multiple pairs of Vans. What he clarified on Twitter was wearing Vans every single day. So he's saying that switch it up, wear different shoes. I thought it was funny. Um, it was just also too. What I loved about it is Kittle seemed a little fiery today. A little bit of, Kittle's kind of the one who's like, ho hum, like here to present a good, happy, jolly type image, which that's just who he is. But today he felt a little fiery. Like he was having fun, but he felt a little fiery. I liked it, honestly. I like the energy. I like fiery Greg, aka George. Um, I likened it to when George talks about uh, Brock Purdy being fired up and how it gets everyone going. I feel like you could assume the same thing with George. Is when George is fired up and George is like, you see George not messing around. Like George is one of the biggest jokesters around. You see George not messing around, you're like, oh, he's serious. I've kind of felt like that's what the vibes were today. Like he was being himself, but he felt a little fiery, and I like it. I like this. I like this George. I like fiery George. Um, I think he even clapped back. Let me see. He even clapped back at someone in the comments. I actually have on this Instagram post. Hold on a second. See, like right here, someone said, you see this right here? He says, "How about focus on recovering fumbles?" No idea who this person is. And then George responds. Oh, did he respond again? He said, "Aren't you the guy in my DMs 24/7 telling me to hit you up?" Question mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 laughing hysterical emojis. I don't have eyes in the back of my head though. Thanks for the mindset tip, coach. That's what I'm saying. A little fiery. I kind of like it. I kind of like spicy George. We haven't seen a ton of spicy George. I kind of like spicy George. I do. Let me blow that up a little bit larger for you to see. He's not holding back. And I just saw when I was opening up the comments that he replied again. What did he say? Hopefully he's not cooking me. Oh no, it's this. Is this the same thing? Oh, it's the same thing. IG's just tripping per usual. No shock there. So yes, he only commented one time. Aren't you the guy in my DMs 24/7 telling me to hit you up? I don't have eyes in the back of my head though. Thanks for the mindset, coach. Oh yeah, good stuff, man. Hey, I'll see. My read is like he's had it about up to enough, right? Like he's secure in who he is. He knows what he stands for. Yeah, 49er fans, you want to chirp? You want to chirp George Kittle? You want to chirp the like? I'm going to call him like one of the forefathers of the Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch era. Like this guy is This guy's Mount Rushmore worthy of the Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch regime. Like, he's that important to this wave of 49ers football that now has gotten to the mountaintop. Now, obviously, we want to get over the mountaintop, but George Kittle got his fingerprints all over everything the 49ers are doing right now. A huge tone setter in the locker room, huge tone setter on the field. We know how good he is as a blocker. We know how good he is as a receiver, what he's done for the tight end position. George Kittle is phenomenal. Is phenomenal. So, a little fiery. I like it, though. I like it. I like fiery George. I want more of it. I kind of feel like what if we got fiery George this year? Like what if he was a little bit less like jokey on the field? Like, we know he's always going to have fun, but what if that like flipped to like full blown Joker status? Like, we already know he kind of plays. He has like he's talked about it before. He has like alter egos on the field. Like, he'll flip his mentality into like the Joker status. What if he just goes full blown Joker? Ooh, I'd like to see that. I think that would be dope. I think that would be sick. I'll open it up to you guys. What questions do you have for the regarding the San Francisco 49ers? Because again, like I said, I'm going to let you guys now drive the show and be able to ask 49ers related questions that have nothing to do with Brandon Aiyuk. So you can now drive us to where we are going from here on out. Well, unfortunately, Chris, we just talked about BA. So to save the ears of all the people in the chat, I'm not going to reiterate it, but you can go back and watch it. It was like a 10-minute update. It really wasn't that long. The thing is we have no update with Trent. That's the interesting thing, is we don't know what's happening with Trent. There's no news on Trent. It's radio silence. I think that's by design. I think both sides agreed, like, damn, we already got one messy situation. Like, it is what it is. I think they have a gentleman's agreement that they're not going to do anything out in front of this situation. I would imagine if it does get to that point, then it's messy. Because it's been so quiet, my assumption is they have a gentleman's agreement. We're going to handle this behind closed doors. We're not going to negotiate through the media. But if it happens, no, it's messy. Know that it's gotten messy. So no real Trent update so far. What are my expectations on Pooney starting? Man, getting through. So I've only gotten through the first drive of the film. I've been posting a bunch of the clips on Twitter. My main focus has been the offensive line. My main focus has been kind of watching Pooney. Before I get to Pooney, though, I got to talk about one of the biggest surprises that I have seen so far. One of the biggest surprises has been Nick Sakel. He looked great on that first drive. Again, I'm one drive in. He looked great on that first drive. Like, I'm like, okay, can you do that against starters? Because if you can, then we might have something here. Like I said, I'm going to get to Pooney in a second. But with Nick Sakel has been one of the more interesting things uh, that I have uh, been watching throughout this training camp, because what you're seeing is Nick Sakel getting a lot of run with the starters. He's rotated at left guard with the starters. He's rotated at center with the starters. He started this game. We know they're not going to play Brendel, but he's been rotating with Brendel. When Brendel was what appeared to be healthy, you still had Nick Zakel rotating with the starting group. And after what I just saw, at least on the first drive alone, I graded him out as an A plus, A plus, Pooney A plus, Colton McKivitz A plus. All three of those guys, in my opinion, didn't lose a rep on that first drive where they drove all the way down the field and they scored. Nick Sakel showed smarts by being able to understand where he needed to be, whether it was sliding protection to the left, sliding protection to the right, being in a spot where he needed to be to pick up stunts, what he needed to do in the run game, double to backers. I'm like, who is this guy? Because we saw Nick Sakel in preseason against the Raiders, and it was a completely different story. He looked like he was having a very difficult time. But the Nick Sakel that I saw so far, I can't even. I'm like, who's this guy? This is a different dude. And if Nick Sakel can play like this the uh, throughout the preseason, and we can see this against some of the starters, there's a good chance. Like, are we gonna have a conversation about Nick Sakel starting at center potentially? I don't know. I don't know. But what I saw from Nick Sakel, very promising. I'm very intrigued by that development. It wasn't on my 2024 bingo card, and I'm pleasantly surprised by it. So right now, I'm on Nick Sakel watch, because if he can continue to duplicate these performances, we might have to have a conversation about him actually playing this season, because he's looked really good so far. Dominic Pooney, my expectations are I don't think he will be perfect as a starter, but like I said, on the first drive against the Titans, you saw everything you wanted. You saw pass protection. You saw him be able to work through stunts and delayed stunts, and he was always in the correct position. His technique was on point. Wasn't perfect, but it's typically never perfect. It's the offensive line. It's the trenches. Nothing's ever perfect. But he looked great. Pooney looked phenomenal. One of my favorite reps. He had a guy inside shade in the A gap. He goes to step down. Defensive tackle crosses his face, and Pooney just chops him right in the throat, straight stab to the throat, and just neutralized the rush. It was fantastic. It made me happy. I'm like, all right, we're cooking. I mean, why not, dude? I'm just gonna show you. We haven't even done a film breakdown. My film breakdowns, I'm not too stressed about doing preseason. But we can do a little bit right now. So obviously, right here, Dominic Pooney, this is the one I'm talking about. Defensive tackle, inside shade, hovering over the A gap. You're going to see Pooney step down to take away that positioning. This guy, it actually works to his benefit. He's going to loop around as Pooney steps down, and then you're going to see Pooney stab him in the neck. Watch this. Watch this. Oh. Oh, yeah. Yeah, just like that stab, you like this man bun, and you're going to have to you're going to have to sit through it. Stab into the throat, completely redirects his rush. and shoves him out of the pocket. That is a thing of beauty for a rookie. The ability to take that inside step and then push off it with power to then just get. Do you see this? That's not supposed to happen like that. So when it comes to Dominic Pooney and what I think he's going to be your starter. I do. I think he is. I think he has done everything up until this point uh, to earn that spot. I don't think it's going to be given to him. I think he's earned it. He got the opportunity due to injuries, and he's proving everything possible of why he doesn't. There's no reason to give it up if you're playing like this. So, Pooney, really good. And again, I talked about it with Nick Zakel. Like, look at the patience. This is a late stunt with a looping defensive end. They're trying to get these two guys washed up. So this, I believe that's Arden Key. We know who Arden Key is, right? Former 49er. Arden Key to loop around and get him not paying attention. So Nick Zakel, I mean, literally, this perfect pacing, wide base, the hands, head on a swivel, and just right there to pick up the looping defensive end. I was really impressed with Nick Zakel. Really impressed with Nick Zakel. So when it comes to Pooney, when it comes to Zakel, very impressed with that for sure. And then you can see on the front side or back side, I believe it is, you have Colton McKivitz. Colton McKivitz looked great. I know no one wants to hear that, but he looked good as well. So when it comes to the offensive line, and Pooney, yes, Nick Zakel looked good. Colton McKivitz looked good. I will say this: Aaron Banks struggled a little bit. Aaron Banks had a really rough first rep. I know you guys remember it was almost like a double A gap blitz, but I thought he might have tripped. The defensive tackle just pancaked him. And then the very next rep, Banks was late off the line. So Banks was able to settle in as the drive went on, but it was a really rough start for Banks. I would say both or all three, Zakel, Pooney, and McKivitz looked better than Banks on the first drive. So the Banks thing is one that I've kind of been watching throughout camp because he also struggled a little bit in camp. So I'm just really like, I don't want Banks to struggle. This is a contract year. I want Banks to go out here and thrive, potentially earn a big time contract. I don't want Banks to not be in the starting lineup. But if Banks is a little bit inconsistent, there could be an opportunity that they might have a conversation, especially if guys like Nick Zakel are playing really well and Pooney is playing really well. So I don't know. I think we talked about it heading into this training camp that the interior wasn't solidified. So with that being said, we are seeing that come out. We're seeing that play out in front of us. So I don't think our interior offensive line is currently solidified at this point, and I do think it will be based on who proves the best throughout training camp and throughout the offseason. Colt looked good. What does that tell you, Brad, playing against scrubs? I don't – obviously you want to be able to evaluate against the best. That will obviously give you the best litmus test. But you can't fabricate something that's not there. Like, so Colton just has to do his job. He's got to go up who's in front of him, and he's got to do his assignments, all that stuff, and he did it. So I don't really care who he's going against. I care about those things, executing your assignments and beating who's in front of you, and that's exactly what he did. So now that's a win, and build on top of that. Go do that against some big time talent. You know what I'm saying? I saw this one. How's your shoe game? These were the first ones. These were the first. So this is what I wore when I was credentialed to the 49ers. I got these in Las Vegas. They kind of got like this kind of roughed up look, and it's got like this alligator, like I don't even know how to explain it, but these are retro, I believe, ones. So that's what I wore to my first day at 49ers media. These are a staple in the rotation for training camp. I wore these a bunch just because they're super simple. They're black. They go with everything. I think these were the bread ones. I don't know any of the names of them. I got the white ones. Wore those ones quite a bit. I got my dunks over here that I can't grab. I don't think I wore Vans this year, though. Vans have been in the rotation. I don't think I wore my Vans this year. But my shoe game, just getting started. I've only got a couple of pairs that I really like. I'm really trying to build my collection. So I'm really pretty much, I'm a rookie. I would say I'm a rookie sneakerhead. I'm just getting into it. The fours, I think they might be fours. These are the ones, and then I believe these are the fours. Like I said, I don't even know the names yet. I'm still trying to get into the mix of it. But I do know that I'm actually I get it now. I get it now. I'm low key hooked by it. What size shoe do I wear? I'm 14. I'm size 14, so it's also really challenging to get nice shoes. But I got some plugs. So I got some plugs who've been hooking me up with the 14s, and we've been ready to rock. What's good, DJ? Haven't seen DJ in here in a minute. It says woo woo, smash that like button. Member for 25 months. That's literally insane. That's like when we started this YouTube channel, basically. That was a long time ago. 25 months. That's crazy. Brad, with your credentials, can you join the media sessions? I'm still kind of in the process of working some of that stuff out, so maybe. But as of right now, I don't have an answer for you. Any word on McCaffrey's injury? I did see that McCaffrey went on an interview probably late last week where he went on Sirius XM radio, and he did say that if he needed to play in a game that he would have. So I don't know. He's making it. I would say McCaffrey is basically saying, like, I can play if I needed to, but there's no point because why would you? You know what I'm saying? It's preseason. Got to keep our guys healthy. The 49ers I think they had like 26 players not practice on Thursday or something like that. All that stuff. And because we are doing an AMA, super chats get bumped up to the front of the line. Chris, appreciate the super chat. Says, Brad, as a Steeler fan, I have to know if the Niners are close to a deal, then why hasn't he signed yet? I feel like the fans are the real victims here. Listen, if there's one thing that I have learned about the San Francisco 49ers front office, um, in doing, covering this team, is they do not care about the fans. They don't care about the media. They are going to do what they believe is best for their team. And that's it. And so whatever's happening right now, they're trying to do what's ever best for their team. Now, that might not sound great to us. That might come across as like, wow, why are they dragging their feet? Why is this taking so long? Blah, blah, blah. Listen, our front office drafted Trey Lance. They traded 3 first-round picks to get him. They also happened to draft another rookie quarterback at Mr. Irrelevant, but they went into a training camp. So Jimmy Garoppolo had his exit interviews. He said goodbye to the media. He wished everyone farewell. He said bye. He said peace. I'm out at the end of the year. When it fast forward all the way through training camp, he was still on the team. He was still in the locker room. And that felt like a distraction. You had Jimmy Garoppolo at training camp in front of fans running on the side field. Literally, Trey Lance is over there playing in the game, and they're not allowing Jimmy Garoppolo to practice because they couldn't trade him. They couldn't get value in return for Jimmy Garoppolo. So they were like, all right, well, we're just going to put you on the shelf. You can go run off to the side. You can do your rehab. You can do all that. We don't care. We were all like, why is Jimmy still here? And the simple answer is the 49ers knew he was worth something. They weren't going to outright release him for nothing. And so what had happened is they ripped up the contract. They did whatever to it, and he rejoined practice. And he made the final 53-man roster after he said goodbye. So the point being is the 49ers do not care about the fans, about the media, about anyone. They're thinking they're in an isolated scenario where their number one goal is to make the best decisions for their team. And if that comes at a detriment to public perspective, if that comes at a detriment to media, they've proven to us over and over again that they don't care about that. They can withstand it. This is the group that can actually function in this type of environment. Now, fans don't like it. Fans are I'm almost I would say we're like 2 or 3 days away Brandon Aiyuk updates from my subscribers having a full-blown mutiny against me just for reporting on the things that are happening around the situation. I'm not creating it. I'm not responsible for it. I'm simply sharing information. But because of the situation, because of the ongoing nature of it, because of the back and forth and all the things that have created by it, my subscribers literally want to throw me over a bridge. And listen, I understand. I get it. We're in a weird spot. I'm covering something that I've never covered before. I'm covering a situation I've never experienced. I have never seen ever an NFL insider break news that a trade has been agreed to by all three parties in principle, and that was over 24 hours ago. we, we are in the middle of something that we've never seen in regards to negotiations. But that's it. That's the situation. That's where we're at. That's why fans don't like it. Fans are over it. All that kind of stuff. Am I a little worried about our interior defensive line depth at this point? Yeah, I'm a little worried. Obviously, Kalia Davis went from, oh, that's the depth we needed to, oh, no. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the Kalia Davis thing was a bummer because I do think we need additional defensive tackle depth. And he felt like, oh, wow, okay. Year 3, he's growing into the role that we need him to, and he gets hurt for half the season at minimum. So I would imagine that the 49ers will be scouring defensive tackles that hit the open market when final rosters are cut, because we don't have a ton of depth at the position. Now, obviously, the 49ers just signed Nick Williams. There is a connection there between Staley and him. They played with each other last year. Staley coached Nick Williams. I honestly I've never watched Nick Williams play, so I can't even tell you what kind of player he is other than just reading off stats. But I do think that we are kind of in that territory of just we can't get injured on the interior. We can't get injured anymore. We need to stay healthy with Hargrave, Collins, Kevin Givens, and Jordan Elliott. Those 4 guys need to stay healthy because beyond that, we don't have a whole lot. Chris says, feel bad for the fans. This hijacks the fans' season. Yeah. I mean, I get it. No one likes to deal with everyday drama, but again, it's all about perspective, right? How do you view this? Like, if you view this as entertainment at the end of the day, and you kind of just like rationalize it as like, hey, we're entertained. At least we have something to look forward to. We have someone we're looking forward to the resolution of the situation. We're looking forward to the outcome, good or bad. It's been entertaining. Like, you can't say that. You might not like it, but it's been entertaining. I've learned to see, as a 49er fan. I think, Chris, you said you were a Steelers fan. I've learned to sit in this 49ers contractual stew, if you may say. Like, we've been here every season, what feels like for the last 4 seasons. So for me, I'm dead inside. I've been through this. I've done this. Like, this isn't new to me. What's new to me is you guys yelling at me because I'm covering the situation as it unfolds, and I'm trying to manage you guys yelling at me to trying to provide the information that is pertinent to the situation. And that's the where I'm at. With this situation with Brandon Aiyuk, I'm along for the ride. I'm not losing a ton of sleep. I'll lose sleep if we trade Brandon Aiyuk. Then I'll not feel great about this. But until then, I'm like, all right, another day, another news cycle. Let's see what we get. So I think I've just learned to compartmentalize a little bit better because I've sat in this seat talking about this with Kittle, with Bosa, with Debo, with Aiyuk. Chris says, keep your chin up, brother. You do a great job. Thank you, Chris. thank you. Thank you for coming around. I do believe you said you said as a Steelers fan, and shout out to Chris. I've seen you in the lives. Chris been out here. We see you, Chris. Feel free to stick around. Even though you are a Steelers fan, you've added to our little 49er environment. I didn't even know you were a Steelers fan until you said you were a Steelers fan. Michael said, Brad, give me the list of people yelling at you. just go to my comment sections on pretty much any video I make about Brandon Aiyuk. It's been entertaining. Like I said, I'm having fun with it at this point because I've been here before. I'm a man. I'm 35. Yell at me. I've been here. This ain't new. This ain't nothing new to me. It is what it is, man. Appreciate the super sticker, Emmanuel. All right. He says, "Don't make us get the tomatoes again." Someone already threw tomatoes at me, like early on. Like I didn't even get probably like 10 minutes in. We already had someone throwing tomatoes at me. Where'd they go? Someone already threw tomatoes at me. Probably threw a rock at me. Said, "Shut up, Brad. We don't care about your Brandon Aiyuk updates, even though deep down we really want to know what every single little thing is happening, so we know what's going on and we're in the loop." Oh yeah, right here. Way 40 minutes ago. 40 minutes ago, Stephanie threw tomatoes at me. Fun times. Good times. All right, so I kind of got lost in the chat. So if you guys want to reset your questions, I've got a couple more minutes. You want to throw a couple more questions at me, non-BA related, non-Trent Williams related, because we have no Trent Williams updates and we're still status quo on BA. So that's your 10-second update on Brandon Aiyuk and Trent. We have no other. We got nothing. We got nothing. Is Hubanga? So the word on the street is Hufanga is going to be getting checked out tomorrow by some doctor. I think the team doctor, not sure. He's going to be checked out tomorrow, and it sounds like we could find out tomorrow that Hufanga is going to return. So that's a positive news. If Hufanga returns to practice, that's awesome. I think that's a great situation. So I do think we are close. Well, I haven't heard anything on Dre Greenlaw recently. Justin's throwing to. Is that tomato or an apple? I think that's a tomato. Who do I got at safety? I think it's going to be Talanoa Hufanga and Jair Brown. But if Malik Mustafa continues to play the way he's playing, and even George Odom's playing really, really well. I would assume that we go back, all things considered, Talanoa Hufanga regains his spot. But we'll see. Does Trent Taylor make the final 53? It's a numbers game for Trent because right off the top of the head, they're going to keep barring Brandon Aiyuk resigning. They're going to bring Brandon Aiyuk back. They're going to have Juwan Jennings, Deebo Samuel. That's 3. I think Ronnie Bell has earned a roster spot. I think Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowling have earned a roster. That's 6. And Chris Conley has earned a roster. That's 7. So it's tough with Trent. But what the 49ers could do with Trent is that if they do think they can get him on the practice squad, is they could cut him, put him on the practice squad, and elevate him every game to be your punt returner. That's, from my understanding, what the Bengals did with Trent for a couple years. They just had him on the practice squad and they elevated him. For every game, he would come in, be the primary punt returner, and then he would revert back to the practice squad, and then he would elevate up for game day. So he still played. He still played in every game. He just wasn't on the active. I think the problem is that we're at the numbers game. The numbers game is it's challenging. It's challenging. I named 7 guys that are deserving to make the roster before I even got to Trent. And Trent has been having a good camp. Trent has been pretty solid. Like, he really has. He's caught a lot of the stuff that they've thrown at him, and he's done a pretty good job at it. Did I talk about the running back room? I did not. The running back room's looking real thin right now, but thankfully Jordan Mason looks like he's going to be your RB2. Elijah Mitchell is dinged up again. I've talked about it, I feel like, endless times now. But I really did feel that Jordan Mason's path to being RB2 hinged on Elijah Mitchell's health. And here we are talking about Elijah Mitchell being hurt again. So I think Jordan Mason has officially jumped him. I just think that's the case. I still think we'll see a healthy dosage of both, but it's hard. It's hard to like watch all the work that Jordan Mason's put in and then be like, oh, we like Elijah. I like Elijah. But again, his biggest issue is being available right now. Brad, who's your Mount Rushmore other than George Kittle? I'd assume Trent. So my Mount Rushmore of the 49ers era under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are Kittle, Bosa, Warner, and Trent. That would probably be it. And that's really difficult. That's really difficult because you can only have 4, but it would probably be Kittle, Trent, Bosa, Warner. I feel like that has to be the 4. Obviously, Debo's in consideration. Christian McCaffrey has only been here for two seasons, 1.5 seasons. So again, we're talking about Mount Rushmore from 2017 till now. George Kittle was drafted in 2017. Trent Williams got here in 2020. Bosa was drafted in 2019. Fred Warner was drafted in 2018. These guys have been the Mount Rushmore guys of the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era. CMC, obviously, you get maybe more years into it, then of course CMC will be in consideration. But when I look at, we're talking about the era of John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, I would say those got to be your guys. Best linebacker in the NFL, best defensive end in the NFL, best tight end in the NFL, and best offensive lineman in the NFL. Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the NFL, but he's only been here for a year and a half. Oh, Kyle Juszczyk. Oh, I always forget about him. I don't know why. He's deserving. He's been here since 2017. He's deserving, but unfortunately for Kyle, he's deserving. He's deserving of consideration. I still don't think mine changes, but he's deserving. He is, for sure. But I think I got to stick with my Mount Rushmore. I think that was a good question. I like that question. I see a super chat. Hold on a second. DJ says, Brad, you've grown and your content is amazing. Let's go SDS. Shout out to DJ. OGSDS in the building, bro. 25 months uh you've been a member of the channel. That's freaking insane, dude. 25 months. That is, you talk about OG, triple OG. Whew. TJ, one of the OGs, man. Good to see you, man. It's been a while too. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're doing well. Appreciate the kind words. Appreciate all the support you've shown me over the years too, man. It's crazy that we're still here doing this. Who would have thought, huh? Who would have thought? I'm trying to go back to catch up where I left off some of the questions. Any word on Pearsall or Cowing? No word yet. They're both still dinged up. Brad, do Pooney and Kingston play the same position? They can. They've had Kingston kind of all over the place. I've seen him at tackle. I've seen him at guard. They've honestly just, I think, been just messing with Kingston to see where he can fit in. They kind of have him floating all over the place. It looks like Brock has been bulking up. What's he look like throwing the ball? I've been really impressed with Brock throwing. I really have. I feel like he was a little shaky with some of the deep balls early on in camp, but as camp went on and he got more reps, he was starting to hit. He was starting to hit. You could see him taking more chances. But when it comes to hitting on deep balls, like, yeah, I feel great with where Brock's at, especially compared to last year. It's night and day different. He looks night and day different than what he was last year. If Pooney locks up right guard, where do you see Burford fitting in? There's a scenario where I actually could see if Banks struggles and they feel he struggles enough that they kick Pooney to left guard and Burford goes back to right guard because Pooney has played left guard before and he has also played left tackle. So he's familiar with the left side. I've talked about this all the time. It's really challenging to take someone who's only played one side and then flip them when they get to the NFL. But if you have a guy who's flipped flopped throughout his career in college, it's not an issue in the NFL. He knows what to do. He knows how to do it. So that's one thing to look out for. Now, I do believe Banks can lock down that starting job. I do believe Banks can be successful at left guard. It's again, I'm just looking. I'm looking for the most optimal starting five. And right now, Pooney is proving to be one of the more optimal starting five offensive linemen. So far, from what I've seen from Pooney, is you kind of got to rock with him. I don't think you take Pooney out, especially the fact that he's a rookie. You want to ride. You want to get that experience out the way as soon as you can. And if Pooney's looking good already, you got to keep him in. So you got to find a spot. You have to find a spot for him. And I do think he can play left guard as well. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Who do I think will be the standout returner with the new kickoff? Debo. I think Debo's going to be a menace in the new kickoff rule. With Kyle Juszczyk blocking in front of him, I think Debo's going to be a freaking menace out there. Because Kyle's talked about it and you've kind of seen it kind of develop a little bit. It's like an offensive play. It's not really even special teams anymore. Like you can run plays off of this new rule. So I do think you're going to see more of an offensive approach to the kickoff rule. And when you have guys like Kyle Juszczyk and Deebo Samuel, who you can put out there as your starting returners, you can get real creative. So I feel like our group has the potential to be really solid at the new kickoff rule. Do I think Juju Smith can be linked to the Niners? No, not at this point. No, not at this point. I would say no. Uh, no cowing. No cowing. Um, oh, I appreciate that, Joy. Oh, what's up, Joy? You have the Seattle Seahawk husband, right? If he's watching right now, shout out my guy. 49ers. I think we're the better team this year. I just think that's how the cookie crumbles. Shout out Joy. Joy is a real one. I appreciate that. No, I remember that. That was cool. So shout out Joy. she's like, my husband's actually a Seattle Seahawk fan. And I was like, yes. He just walked in and is laughing. What a good sport. What a good sport. But still, Niners, we're better. It is what it is. I get it. No, that was cool. I remember that. Shout out Joy. Shout out hubby. Even though he's a Seahawks fan, he's letting the wifey spread the wings and bring this ginger beard into the living room. So you gotta love it. Let's see what other. I'm way behind on questions, so I'm just trying to scroll back up to the top. Let me scan. What do you guys think about having Breida back? It was okay. Not earth shattering. It's okay. Who would you rather watch play, Winters or Campbell? For me, I'd rather watch Winters. Winters is way more raw than Campbell, but Winters also has some upside. So I would probably go Winters right now. Because Devondre Campbell's kind of on the back end. He's on the back nine of his career, as they say. So I would prefer Winters, although what we saw from Winters in that preseason game, he's a little wild. He needs to be tamed a little bit, a little bit more breaking down. He's just going 1,000 miles a minute. If he can control that, that's why it reminds me of Dre. Like, he's a little bit more wild than Dre was, but Dre also has that just kind of like wild dog mentality where it's like see ball, get ball, and they're just like, like I think if you can refine that a little bit by injecting a little bit more technique and those types of things, like Winters can be a really good player. I think it's still early, but man, you could see it. You can see what he's capable of. He has the qualities to be a quality linebacker. So I like what I've seen from Winters. I'd probably pick Winters so far. All right, like I said, I'm way behind in the chat. Kaepernick as coaches the Chargers. Yeah. I feel like that was Harbaugh like kind of telling Cap like it might be time to hang it up, because I did see like the recent interview he did. He said he still wants to play quarterback, and then Harbaugh's like, "Well, you'd be a great coach." It's like Cap. I think you're like 36, 37, man. Like you're at your journeyman backup age already, like in the NFL. So like, I think Harbaugh is basically saying like, it's time to look towards the next chapter of and hey, if Cap really just wanted to For the love of the game, like seriously, for the love of the game, if you loved football that much, I would pounce on the opportunity to get back in the NFL. Like, listen, your playing days are over. It is what it is, right? If you really love the game and you really want to be around it, take him up on that. Go be a coach. Go see what it's like. Go see if you like it. Go see if that's something you can see yourself doing. Because if you want to, like me, like I do what I do because I want to be around ball. Like this is just a weird, like my YouTube and my social media is just a weird way for me to be around football because I didn't have anyone who was inviting me to come be a part of their organization. I didn't have anyone saying, "Oh, come join our coaching staff," or "Hey, Brad, you want to come be on our scouting department?" I didn't have anyone saying that. So I created my own lane. I needed to figure out like, okay, my passion is clearly football and my passion is being around football. So how do I do that? I took all the things that I knew, social media marketing, 49ers, and multimedia communications, and I slammed them together. And now we have the SF Niners, and now I get to be around football because that's how I figured it out. So, like for Cat, if he wants to be around football, you can be around football in a lot of different capacities. So, although your time as a quarterback is clearly over, you can still go into coaching with a staff that you know and with other former players that you played with. To me, that will tell me if he's really loves football like that. But I think that's kind of like what Harbaugh was saying, man. He was like, it's like, yeah, probably that chapter's probably closed, but if you want to come be a coach, I got you. That's why Harbaugh's cool, man. Harbaugh's cool, man. Shout out, I miss Harbaugh, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I think not the Steelers, the the Chargers have always been a team that I'm like, this is the year they're gonna be good. When it was Phillip Rivers, I was like, oh, this is the year they're gonna be good. Antonio Gates. I was like, oh, I got my boy Keenan Allen. I'm a huge, you see the cow, like Keenan Allen's one of my favorite players. I was like, oh, they got Keenan Allen. I think they had Melvin Gordon. Who else? They had so much talent, but they could never do anything. So I've always had like my eyes on the Chargers because they always draft players that I like. Now they got Harbaugh, so I'm like, oh, are they bringing me back? Are they bringing me back to like checking in on them? Like I already have tons of what's his name? What's the quarterback's name? Justin Herbert stock. I got like Justin Herbert in probably 3 or 4 of my dynasty leagues, so I have to pay attention to them. But yeah, I don't know. Oh, that's a good question. Pasternaut or Allen? I think it's Allen right now. I think it's Allen right now. I think he's looked better throughout training camp. Um, Josh Dobbs has looked good a little bit, but also kind of a. I do think it is Allen. Yes, yes. Michael says, Brad, don't forget your allegiances to the Broncos. I forgot Broncos country. Let's ride. Man, good times. Good times. Shout out to the boys. Shout out to Quinn Miners. Shout out to Mike McGlinchey. Both friends of the channel. Both have been on the channel. Quinn Miners, first player to ever come on my YouTube channel. What a wild, random thing, right? Like, Oh, Brad, who's the first player who you ever interviewed on your YouTube channel? Quinn Miners, Denver Broncos starting left guard. Quinn Miners. Legend. Shout out Quinn, man. What position am I worried about the most? Okay, this is a good question. It's a good question. I want to pull up my depth chart so I can have every single name staring at me in the face. But I don't get why this thing always kicks me. Oh, it's my AirPods. Okay, I can't find it, so I'm gonna go off the dome. Let's go through it. Quarterback, I'm fine. Running back, I'm gonna put at the top of kind of concerned, but obviously we have CMC, Jordan Mason. Feel better about that. I like Cody Schrader. I like some of the guys we have. Running back health is the concern there. Fullback, fine. Juice, best fullback in the league. Wide receiver, Brandon Aiyuk returns, no issues. If Brandon Aiyuk doesn't return, a little bit of an issue with the wide receiver room. Tight end room, I feel much better about. I feel much better about Eric Sauber and Braden Willis. I think Eric Sauber has earned that tight end 2 role. I think he's just the more complete tight end as it stands. He's the better blocker right now. So I think Sauber really he had a strong camp and he's continued to look really well. So Sauber and Braden have put my mind at ease about the tight end depth. So I feel better about that. Offensive line, I feel better about the offensive line. Jalen Moore, stock up on Jalen Moore, stock up on Pooney, stock up on McKivitz, stock up on Zakel. Question marks with Banks, Burford, and Brendel still. But the fact that we have some other guys stock up like Pooney and Zakel, intriguing. We know that Brendel, Burford, and Banks are all capable, so we know that. I just want to see someone snatch it, take it. Obviously, Trent, you want Trent there. That's one thing. So TBD on that. But like I said, Jalen Moore did look much improved in training camp. So that's good. So offensive line, I feel better about. Defensive line, Malik Collins looks solid to me. Jordan Elliott looks solid to me. Gross Matos looks solid to me. Leonard Floyd looked good. Bosa looked good. I feel better about like our main guys. For me, it's just a little bit of concern with the defensive tackle depth. That's about it. Defensive tackle depth and edge depth, because after Gross Matos, we have Robert Beal. I wish I had my depth chart in front of me. We have Robert Beal. Drake Jackson is on IR. He's done for the year. We have guys like Alex Barrett. Even Austin Bryant went on IR. So I think we're a little, our defensive end depth could be a concern. Defensive end and defensive tackle depth could be a concern. Linebacker, feel pretty good about. I think Winters has shown well. Curtis Robinson looks good. I think Curtis Robinson always just looks solid. Jalen Graham looks pretty good. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, we know he's a quality special teamer. And obviously got Fred. Devondre Campbell didn't really flash to me, but he also didn't like look like he was getting cooked or anything. So not too concerned about linebacker depth. Cornerback, I think it all hinges on Yadam. I think that early returns on Renato Green looked good. Diamador Lenore was probably the best player in training camp. Charvarius Ward, all pro. So I feel good with those three. Yadam looked good, but I think he rolled his ankle and he's going to be out for a little while. Ambry Thomas broke his forearm. Daryl Luter is a guy that I'm intrigued by, but didn't see a ton from at camp. You have the guys like Chase Lucas. So I wouldn't be surprised if they potentially sign a cornerback. So that will be an interesting one. And then safety with Talano Hufanga coming back, Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa, George Odom. I feel pretty good. So to be honest, there's not a ton of concerns. The concerns really come from depth. After just going through the whole depth chart in my brain, my concerns come from just depth, right? Staying healthy and who's next up who can keep the train going. So just some depth positions, I think, for the most part, is where the concern comes from. Other than that, I feel pretty good about majority of the group. With Banks, he was going through injury last year, and I think just going in and out of the lineup, I think didn't allow him to get in rhythm. So far this year, kind of feels the same. So my hope for Banks is it just kind of I don't know if he's pressing too much. I don't know if he's putting. So again, you can put a lot of pressure on yourself, especially as an offensive lineman. Because I talked about this off season. Banks was in Pooney's position when Banks got drafted. Banks got drafted with Laken Tomlinson as your starting left guard, with Laken Tomlinson in a contract year. Pooney gets drafted with Banks in a contract year, and I'm wondering, is Banks putting too much pressure on himself? Because you can do that as an offensive lineman. We've seen it from Mike McGlinchey. I've experienced it myself as an offensive lineman when you just put too much pressure on yourself and you press and you press and you start making mistakes and you start doing stupid things because the margin of error for offensive line is so paper thin that you have to be on point. And if you're not on point mentally, that's going to translate into your game on the field. So I'm halfway like I wonder if Banks is feeling the pressure a little bit because Pooney's a player. Pooney is a player. So I'm just wondering if I'm just wondering maybe he's putting too much on his shoulders. We know he's capable. We know he can be a starting offensive lineman and a quality one. So with Banks, I just want to see him kind of lock in a little bit, just kind of lock in and be consistent. That's really it. Like Banks doesn't have to do much of anything different than just being consistent. If he's consistently doing his job, then we're fine. We're fine. That's it. Just be consistent, and Banks will be good. Just so far haven't seen that level of consistency that I like to see from guys in his position. That's all. Doesn't mean they can't obtain it. Doesn't mean it's the end of the road. It's all the things for sure. So, best roster we've had with Shanny and Lynch. I think it's up there. I think it's up there because we have a quarterback. Ooh, this is the best quarterback we've had. Best secondary we've had. If Aiyuk gets signed, it's the best wide receiver room we've had. It's the best running back room we've had. Could be the best safety room we've had. So yeah, I think you could say that. I think you could say that this stacks up with some of the best rosters that Shanahan and Lynch have had with their times with the Niners. So I think you could say that for sure. And having Uh, Having Brock also just weights that heavily in that direction. Uh, what are my thoughts on Pearsall so far? My biggest thoughts with him is just again being available. I think he's going to be a quality wide receiver in this league. You see um, the crispness in his routes. You see the strong hands. You see that he has the potential to be an NFL wide receiver. Uh, so absolutely, you could absolutely see him having success. But just right now, I think the biggest thing is just being able to be healthy. That's it. And and it's not, I don't think it's his fault. I think, a lot of injuries are luck related and just hasn't been available. So it's just been an unfortunate situation for him. But I think he's wired the right way. Just saw someone say Pearsall's another Pettis. I just don't think Pettis was compatible with Kyle. So I don't think that really worked. I don't think that's why that worked out all that well. Um, but yeah, the soft tissue stuff, that's unfortunate. You know, you don't want to see that. They make it sound like the soft tissue stuff is a little bit more manageable based on preparation and habits and things like that. Like you can do things to help stay out of the training room with soft tissue. Again, it's not all his fault. It's not all his fault. I'm not going to sit here and say like I think the thing he's dealing with right now is a shoulder, and I think he just went down, like he just hit the ground weird. Um, like I messed up my shoulder doing something insanely stupid. I was snowboarding. It was the final run of the day. I don't know if you guys have been to North Star in California, but they have this terrain park, where it's a ton of wooden features. So it's like logs cut down the middle and turned into boxes. With this one simple, just box like that, it goes up and it goes down. And this last one of the day, I'm like, oh, whatever. And I came down weird, and I just because like I ditched it, and I fell right on my shoulder, and it went pop, and I stage 3 shoulder separation, where I basically ripped my collarbone off my shoulder, doing something very routine. like like that can happen. Like you can hit the ground just weird. You can hit you can hit just at a weird angle, and it can jack something up. Like it's just the unfortunate nature of it, and it's that's unlucky. like that's just unlucky. So with him, I don't think it's I don't think he's like injury prone, but he's definitely going through something. You just gotta bear with him. It's also too it's also too early to really be able to get a strong read on what Ricky is not. Um just it's too soon. Oh, dude, I could literally we could spend the next 30 minutes talking about my snowboard injuries. I've put a hole in my face. I've gotten concussions. I've broken my wrist. I believe I've broken my tailbone. I never actually got it checked out, but it felt like I broke my tailbone. I have a laundry list of snowboard injuries. Uh, to go along with my rugby injuries, to go along with my football injuries, to go along with my baseball injuries, to go along with my skateboarding injuries, to go along with my biking injuries. I've been injured a lot. That's why I'm like the doctor in our house. Whenever our kids get hurt, I'm there to check them out because I've literally been injured so many times that I know how to assess bodily harm. Oh my gosh. How did I start this channel? What's my story? My story is I am a former football player uh who played in college, high school, JUCO, D2. After D2, actually my shoulder injury played a part in why I stopped playing football because I hurt myself in the off season. Um, then I went to the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. That's where I got my education in multimedia communications. So that's where I was able to kind of work in a newsroom environment. I learned how to edit. I learned how to shoot. I learned how, like, I had no idea that I would actually be on camera for a living and that I did that at the University of San Francisco. Um, but while I was doing that, I then actually edited a documentary, shot and edited a documentary, so that was interesting. Um, it was about the founder of Runner's World magazine, so that was an interesting story, but kind of got me into editing and stuff like that. Uh, while doing social media marketing and learning social media marketing. And so I kind of left my football dreams. I had tried to like figure out how to be a photographer or videographer doing football, but I had no idea because this was like 2011, I think at that time, 2011. I didn't know how to get into it, and then I worked in sales a little bit, and then I got into the exhibit industry. I don't know if you guys are familiar with trade show exhibits, but I was selling trade show exhibits, and then I became a project manager at a really big company in the Bay Area, and then I became an account executive from there after successfully being a project manager. And then COVID hit. So around 2017 is when I realized, like, oh, I could start an Instagram page and I can talk about football. And so 2017, I started my first page. Um, and then 2018 is when the SF Niners came around. And then uh, I did this as a hobby until the pandemic hit, shut down the entire event industry. And then in 2021, I said, screw it. I'm going to go do this full time. And so in 2021, like literally January 1st, 2021, I started doing this full time. No YouTube page. That's when I started my YouTube page, started my website, um, and have been grinding ever since. And so 2021, I started this with basically no subscribers. It's 2024. I now have 122,000 subscribers. I think we're about to hit 123,000 subscribers. We got like almost 250,000 followers on Instagram. I think we're about 85,000 followers on Facebook, about 45,000 on TikTok. I think combined on Twitter, I have 100,000 followers. Um, so yeah, been grinding, A lot of work, a lot of work, and a lot of stuff happened. A lot of stuff happened in that time frame. Um, oh, that's I've hey Heck's been around for a long time. He says this YouTube page was barely 200 plus subscribers when I subbed. Yeah, man. Yeah, man, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. I'm heading into year 4 doing this full-time independent content creator. Uh, just me cooking, just me grinding my ass off. Literally, started in a garage. Um, and then you guys remember the goats, Jerry and Joe. You remember the mail lady, literally in a garage, sweating my ass off, with no ventilation. And yeah, man, we've come a long way. We've come a long way. So, but it wasn't easy. Wasn't easy. That's for sure. Definitely question what am I thinking a couple times. But I think I made the right choice, and here we are. Here we are. So here we are waiting for the Brandon Aiyuk news. All of my life decisions and choices have led me to waiting to see what is going on with Brandon Aiyuk. So that's what my life consists of. But anyways, this one's been fun. I need to do more AMAs in the future. And yeah, I hope we get to the end of this BA saga soon, and we can move on. So until then, we'll see. But shout out to everyone for tapping in. Do me a favor, smash that like button on your guys' way out, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see